G'day guys, welcome back. Jakko here. Today, back in the boat, another chat sesh. Just reviewing last year's cod season and previewing this one. Pretty bloody excited. It's the 30th of November as I sit here and film this. First tomorrow. Gonna try and get out for a quick one tomorrow and then into the weekend, get out for a weekender. So, pretty bloody keen. Let's run a quick intro of some highlights from last season and then we'll get straight into it, eh?
Very low condition.
Barely picked this thing up. Gotta get it back.
$1.10 on the dot. Right down the back of the mouth. That's good. Gonna see him off, he's starting to kick. How good is that?
Righto, so I'll start by doing a bit of a review of last year's cod season. I did one of these for the previous season as well, and it was a pretty big hit with everyone. Everyone seemed to enjoy it, so I thought I'd do another one. This one's a bit different, not as many highlights. I've done a lot more fishing at night and early in the morning this year, so I actually didn't get a lot of footage, so it won't be the same as the previous year's video where there was me talking about what happened and then sort of showing the highlights. But I still had a pretty good season, I'd say, on a whole. I'm not doing this to sort of brag or anything like that. It's not about that. For me, it's not about who catches the most Murray Cod or who catches the biggest or how many metres you catch compared to someone else. That's not what fishing's about. It's more about going out there and challenging yourself against the fish, I feel. That's what I do it for anyway. Other people might be different, but that's the way I look at it. But I do like to keep a diary of how I go and sort of reminisce on the good catches for the year. So that's why I'm doing it. The last time I did it, you guys got a kick out of it. So please don't think that I'm doing this to sort of brag in any way, because I'm not doing that. There's blokes out there catching heaps more fish than me, and good on them for that. But as I said, it's not whose dick's the biggest or how many cod you catch. Just going to talk about some of the good fish I caught, some of the good memories, and how I caught them and patterns I put together. So, as I said, kept a really detailed diary last year. Basically looked at everything. I used the Fish Ranger app. I can't recommend that enough, the Fish Ranger app. If you jump on Google and type that in, if you haven't seen it before, Fish Ranger. From memory, it was $30 I think for a year subscription. And you can keep all your places that you fish down in one side as a favourites tab. So I've got like Wangler, Windermere, Burrinjuck, Copeton, all down my favourites on the side. And I can just select one of them and it'll give me a 10-day forecast with barometric pressure, moon phases, all that type of stuff. So it's the best way to track the weather, and if you like me and follow the weather religiously when it comes to cod fishing, can't recommend it enough. So check that out. But the diary, I keep everything in there. So session, what day it was, what time I fished, how long I was out there for, where I was fishing, so location, type of structure I fish, barometric pressure, what was it, the barometric pressure was it falling, was it going up, was it steady, etc, etc. Moon phases, when was moon rise, when was moon set, when was moon above, when was moon below, was the moon above ground during the session, was the moon below ground during the session, what was the moon percentage, was it a waxing gibbous moon, was it a waxing crescent moon, was it a waning crescent moon, was it a waning gibbous moon. All this type of stuff is all through that Fish Ranger app. But get familiar with that stuff, because that's the stuff that I really like to track, and I think I did start to find some patterns this season. I'm not going to go right into detail with this video about every little thing that I found with, say, barometric pressure and moon phases. I'm actually going to start another series on YouTube where I talk more about that type of stuff. It's going to be called Guru Theories, and I'm actually going to sit down and do videos like this where I just talk about one thing. So it might be barometric pressure, it might be moon phase, it might be thermocline, that type of stuff. I'm going to do in future videos, but this is more of an overview about how I went last year, the fish I caught, what I caught them on, and yeah, a bit of a preview coming up to this year and what I'm thinking. So I'm going to refer to my phone a bit. Got the phone here. I just took a few screenshots of my Excel spreadsheet where I keep my diary. So everything I keep is on the Excel spreadsheet. Forgot to say other things I keep on that is obviously who I fished with, a comment about the scenario of the session. Then I've got another tab about the actual fish I caught, the length, the structure it was caught off, the time, pressure, moon phase, everything regarding to that exact fish. So say I caught that fish at 6:30 in the morning, I have that exact time and what the pressure was doing then, if it was rising, if it was falling, blah blah blah, etc etc. What lure it was caught on, what colour it was caught on. I think that's about it. So that's how I keep my diary. If you're mad keen into your cod fishing like I am, I think it's a good thing. It's good. It can be a bit of work actually getting there, getting down and actually putting it all into the Excel spreadsheet. But looking back on it, you can sort of, yeah, it's pretty cool. You see all your catches and start to put some patterns together at the end of the season, and you can work on them for future trips. Another thing with that fish range app is, say I go for 5 days away to a Copeton trip, I can come back after that, and all I do is whenever I catch a fish, I just put in my notes on the phone what time I caught the fish, and then you can just go back to that exact time at that exact location, and Fish Range will give you all the weather data from that exact time. So bloody handy tool. Anyway, we'll jump into it. Last year, 78 sessions on the water, so a pretty big effort. I knew I was going to do this. It was a goal of mine to do this diary from the start, so put a lot of effort and emphasis into making sure that I kept all the data and went out fishing as much as possible. So it was a big effort, a lot of really early mornings, a lot of driving. So I was pretty busted all the time. All the time I was going out 3-4 times a week. And I was trying to fish through all conditions as well. I wasn't trying to just focus on the one condition, because then it would be a pretty biased diary or spreadsheet. I wanted to go whenever the wind was doing whatever, the pressure was doing whatever, so I could try to start to pattern stuff together. There's no good going the same conditions or what I think is perfect conditions all the time when I was trying to do this stuff. I think this year I will change that a bit and go more into like what I found in these patterns and what I think will work. So I'll start finding those times, those prime bite times that I reckon from this data that I've got from last year. So this year probably won't do as much fishing because it was a pretty big effort. 78 sessions is a lot of time on the water. Although in saying that, let me just bring it up. Where is it? Here she is. Yeah, so 78 sessions on the water, 264 hours and 45 minutes total time casting. So if you break that down, divide that by 78 sessions, I averaged about 3.5 hours per session. So not a long time. A lot of people will save up weekends and just go for the whole weekend, whereas what I did a lot more was go out at 2 in the morning, drive to the spot, start fishing at 3:30 until 6:37, and then send it back, and I could actually get back to work before 10 o'clock. I don't have to start till 10 o'clock and go to work. So that was my plan for most of the season, and then I'd do that on the flip side. I'd do the arvos, finish work, driving out of the dam, start fishing, just fish that last light into the dark, and then come home. Or I'd stay the night and then get up and do the morning session, then come home. So that was my plan. I didn't do a lot of big trips where I went away for weekends. I did Blowering, Burrinjuck. I didn't get up to Copeton, but most of the rest were local, Windermere and Wyanga. Wyanga's my local, so that's where I do most of my fishing. But yeah, I did a few trips, but yeah, it's the first time I've been up to Copeton in a while, but that's alright. So in the 78 sessions for the boat, there was 66 fish caught in total. So less than a fish a session, which I think is got to be expected when it comes to impoundment Murray Cod. This is all impoundment stuff. There was grinds out there. August was an absolute disaster for me. Barely boated a fish all August. which don't know why. Don't know what's going on there. If it's because of the water inflows this year, there was a lot more water come. We had really good late July water rain, so there was a lot of water come in. I don't know if that switched them off. If it was the daylight hours, more daylight hours, it might send them into like a breeding mode, spawning mode. That could have happened, and I think what I'm thinking it might be is a bit of a combination of both. Is the inflows coming into the dam, longer daylight hours, getting in that spawning mode, and those fish are like, righto, probably make the run up river where the water's coming in. And yeah, I just couldn't find the fish for August, so it was really tough. So there was a lot of donut sessions through there. A lot of donut sessions, sort of mid autumn. It was pretty tough, and then I sort of got on a good pattern towards the end of autumn and into winter. So that's where I had a really good run. But yeah, still plenty of sessions out there where I didn't catch anything. So 66 fish for the boat. Of those, I caught 40, and obviously the other 26 were caught by whoever I was with. Fished with a few different people this year. Spent most of the time but on the water with the old man. He comes with me a fair bit, which is good. I only had 5 solo sessions this year, so normally I don't do a lot of solo fishing. I'd rather have someone in the boat with me, but if no one can come, I'll go by myself. But it's surprising. I think every time I went out by myself, I at least caught a fish, and I actually caught 3 meteries while I was by myself. So it was good results when I was by myself. I think you get to do what you want. You got no one else to worry about. You can just go out there and fish how you want to fish, and not as many lures going in the water as well. I think that paid dividends. For the boat, 17 fish over a metre. Of those, I was lucky enough to catch 13 over the metre. So 13 metres for the year, which I was pretty bloody chuffed with. It's not bad. We'll jump into lures. So when it come to lures, there was a real pattern. You know, I've always been a bit of an advocate for summer water warmers, go for a reaction style of bait. And that this year was the chatterbait. Chatterbait absolutely smashed it. Actually ended up with 25 fish in the boat for the season on the chatterbait. That was the most successful. I think 13 fish in total on that duckfin chatterbait. It's basically, if you haven't seen my previous video that I've done rigging up that duckfin with the treble underneath, 1/0 treble underneath on a 1/2 ounce TT Swimbox jig head, and then I've just attached a chatterblade at the front. So that was my go-to. I also used Batsman Mumblers, a couple of fish on them, and another one that I make up with a Kitech on the back and a skirt, but that was the number one chatterbait for me. Plenty of fish on that. With the data I've got, you can see there's a lot of chatterbait, and then in autumn it starts to switch from it's sort of a mix between chatterbait and swimbait, and then winter it was all swimbait. So swimbaits, I ended up with, let me log back in, 29 cod on the swimbaits for the boat. So there was, the most successful of the swimbaits was the Gantia. It was the first sort of swimbait to really take off when those waters were cool and those cod were coming up shallower, and I was actually fishing these with either very minimal weight, an 1/8 of an ounce head, or if not unweighted. So I upgraded the trebles on them, and with upgraded trebles just sitting there, they have a real slow stink. So I was fishing them in tight to the bank, close to weed and that type of stuff when those waters dropped off, and that's when the swimbaits really come into play. So the Gantia ended up with 8 fish, and the star performer was the Gantarelle, unweighted Gantarelle. This guy here, well, in total the Gantarelle caught 13, and this one here, this King of the Night colour, absolutely smoked him. He caught 5 of them, and every single fish that this one caught was over a metre, so couldn't believe it. He's actually in retirement now because 5 fish over a metre is a bloody good effort. It is absolutely torn up, got cod teeth marks all through it. So swimbaits, massive hit. As we're on it, as you can see there, I don't know if you can, but that is a Mustad fast attach clip that was running to all my swimbaits later in the year. So if you have seen one of my previous videos about rigging the perfect gantrel, I actually say run your line through that top eyelet and then actually attach it to the bottom one because the top one's not too strong. But I went against that this season and went back to running it to the top attach point, which I don't have full confidence in, but it didn't let me down this season. So I've actually started running these fast attach clips. I've always been against clips, never wanted to run them, but I've gone to them this season purely just for the ease of just how easy it is to just take them off and on. So it's literally just clip it off, and then if I want to put another lure on, bang, it's on. It's so much easier. In winter, when it's minus 3 or 4 degrees out there, it's dead set nearly impossible when you got to take your gloves off and try and bloody tie a loop knot to your lure. When it makes you not want to change it. So I just found this was the easiest way. You get great action out of the lure, and didn't let me down. So just made changing lures in that prime bite time. You might have a bite window of 20 minutes, and if you're not confident with your lure, you want to change it. But if it's minus 4 degrees and everything's frozen, you don't want to take your gloves off. You're not going to do it. So you're just going to keep throwing the lure that you've got tied on, and sometimes that. Yeah, that's not the right way to go about it. I think if you want to change. Get that confidence lure on. So that's why I've been running them. Can't rate them enough. Haven't had one let me down, and I know a lot of the other boys are starting to run them as well. So check them out. So 29 fish on the swim bait, 25 on the chatterbait, and apart from that, we had 4 on hard body. So I think there were a couple on stump jumpers, a couple on orgy plows, 5 on the plastic. So that was just a straight duckfin shad or a straight Kitech. Well, that's a duckfin shad there, straight duckfin shad on a 1/2 ounce treble underneath, exactly the same as the chatterbait rig, but without the chatter blade on it. That one, and the 7/8 Kitech. I actually got 1 metery on that, a 110 on that rig, which was pretty good. Also running them with the fast attach clip. So nowadays I just have a couple of rods in the boat, 2 or 3 rods, both of them with those fast attach clips, and then I just change if I'm running a plastic, if I'm running a swim bait, if I'm running a chatterbait, I can just change it all over just by clicking that fast attach clips. Good thing about that is you don't have to tie up many leaders either, because every time, well, you never snipping your line. The only time you ever have to do it is if you catch a fish and it engulfs it, rust the line, or you're fishing in granite country or heavy structure where it actually starts to chip the line and stuff, so you'll have to change it then. But the less FG knots I have to tie, the better, I reckon. So 5 on the plastic. That was an interesting one. Season before, I actually caught, I'd say, majority of my fish on that duckfin shad. A lot of meter fish on that duckfin shad last season. This season wasn't the same. I was fishing a lot shallower with the hard body swim baits. And then spinnerbait. Interesting, only 3 fish on the spinnerbait. So all 3 of them were in summer. Yeah, that's definitely the lowest number of spinnerbait caught fish I've ever had in a season. Spinnerbaits have always been my go-to, but yeah, went right away from this season. Don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, but I could have caught heaps more fish on them. Don't know, but just lost a bit of confidence in the spinnerbait of late. I still think it definitely has a place when fishing for cod, especially in summer, and around timber structure. But yeah, I just got away from it a little bit. So that's all the lures. Didn't catch a single fish on top water in an impoundment, and I probably would have only had 30 casts in total with a top water lure and impoundment. So that's one of the goals for this year, is to actually tick that meter fish off on top water. I've only done it at Copeland a few times, given it a good crack at Copeland a few times, and haven't been able to tick it off. So a meter fish on top water and impoundment, that's one of the goals for this season. Righto guys, we had a bit of a malfunction with the video that I recorded the first time. Obviously you've just got the first half then, and I lost the second half of it somehow. Don't know, I've somehow deleted it off the camera and the computer and completely lost it, so we're going to have to pick up where we left off. I've obviously got a new shirt on, but I look pretty similar. I might go over a few things twice. I'll try not to. Trying to remember how much I filmed and how much I missed out on. But we've looked at the lures that we caught the fish on, and I'll just talk about some of the structure that the fish come on now. So the majority of the fish actually come on a weed bed, weed point, or a weed edge. That was about 26 fish in total. So A lot of those fish also coincided with the swim bait bite, so a lot of the swim bait fish were caught on the weed edge in the shallower margins in the colder weather. So there wasn't a heap of weed about this winter, but where I could find patches of weed, there was good congregations of bait, and there was always Murray Cod wherever that bait was and wherever that weed was. So my main focus coming into the cooler weather was find that weed, and if you found that weed, then obviously you'd find everything that goes with it. So a lot of fish on the weed beds. Second most productive form of structure was either a rocky wall or a rocky point. We had 18 fish come off that, so that pretty much jumps ship and goes to the warmer weather. When I was fishing the chatterbaits, basically all the chatterbait fish would have been on those rocky points or rocky walls. It was just a really effective lure to fish down or along that structure. We got 8 fish off timber, so again, majority of them were in summer. All the spinnerbait fish would have been on them. The hard body fish, and probably I think that's all the hard body and spinnerbait fish equals 8. I'm pretty sure. So that's where they all come from. So obviously, if I'm targeting structure in the summertime or in the warmer weather, I'll try and go something that's a little bit more snag resistant than the chatterbait rig that I do, or a swim bait. So that's why I normally will throw the spinnerbait or the hard body. But yeah, I don't fish it a lot these days. With the water levels so low at the start of last season, there wasn't a lot of timber to fish either. So that's why we didn't do that. This year, with the water levels back up higher, the timber will come a lot more into play, especially through the warmer weather. And the last notable piece of structure was just a deep bank. So sort of just like a deep grassy bank, not with a weed bed on it, just sort of maybe 8 to 10 metres in depth. Sometimes a deep bank can be a drop off as well, so shallower water, 2 or 3 metres and it drops off. And that was actually the scenario where I got my biggest Murray Cod this year, which was 121 on this lure here, actually, on one of those chatterbaits I talked about earlier, that I make up myself. Not the duck fin, that's the 7.8 Kitech with a white skirt, but the same setup. Got a 1.0 treble on there, and just a 1/2 ounce TT Swimlocks head. So biggest fish of the year come on that. Equal PB as well, so I've got a couple of 121s now. This year we'll try and get the 130, I reckon. That'll be one of the goals for this season. I'll just quickly talk about average lengths. So going on season, so summer, autumn, winter. Obviously, there's a bit of a known thing in the cod scene that in winter you won't get as many fish, but you will get better quality fish, and that was proved through my data anyway. So in summer we had 20 sessions for 23 fish at an average of 68.9 centimetres. So I was getting more fish I was getting over a fish a session then, but they were obviously pretty small for impoundments. In autumn, 23 sessions, so a few more sessions, 17 fish, so less fish, but an average of 84.8 centimetres. So we're starting to see that size really jumped up there by sort of 16 centimetres. So not as many fish caught, but a lot better average. And then in winter, I went really hard in winter, so I had 35 sessions, 26 fish, so a lot less fish than sessions, but the average was 90.5 centimetres. So it's sort of proven there, the colder weather, the big girls come out to play, and that's when I got a lot of quality fish. So the majority of the metre fish come in winter. And yeah, I really wasn't catching much under 80 centimetres once we started fishing shallow, using the swim baits, late autumn and then June, July. Time of day is an interesting one. I fish a lot in the dark, as some people would know, hence why I struggle to get some footage sometimes, and I'm a bit irregular with the footage because I just fish so much in the dark and it's just too hard to film sometimes. Obviously when it's dark, it's near impossible. You can do it, but it's not great viewing, I don't reckon. Anyway, in the dark we caught, out of the 66 fish, 22 in the dark. So I find it one of the most productive times. If you gave me the option to fish during the middle of the day or 1 a.m. in the morning, I'm always going to take 1 a.m. in the morning. It can be a little bit sketchy out there, and sometimes it can be bloody cold in winter, but I just find the cod have a lot more confidence to go out and explore, and you're going to find them in areas that I like to fish more often. So shallower areas, not tight on structure, actually looking for food. Whereas during the middle of the day, generally if I was going to fish during the middle of the day, I'm going to be fishing some form of structure where they'll stage up on, waiting for that next bite period. So they do go up shallow and eat during the day. There's no doubt about that, but I just would rather be out there in the dark, even especially in summer. You know, I just get too hot out there fishing, and I don't think it really. I find it really shuts the fish down. So I'll try and focus just doing night sessions. And the other good thing with the night sessions is it allows me to not have to take time off work. I can go do a night session, or a last light into night, or a darkness into first light, and still work the next day. So a lot of fish caught it in the dark. The most productive time, however, was the first light bite. So what I would consider first light is when you can just make the hills out in the background, to when you can actually just finally see the sun. So it's probably about a half an hour to 40-minute window there between like that first light period, and I actually caught 25 of the 66 fish in that. So for the short window it is, so many fish got caught in that window. So if I'm going to go for a session, I always try and make sure I'm out there about half an hour to an hour before that first light period, so I can get myself on the spot I want to fish and get in the rhythm of casting and get in the zone, and then really just fish hard for that half an hour, 40-minute window when I'm most confident I'm going to catch something. So 25 out of 66, pretty good results in that first light period. And then it drops right away. So last light 4 fish, overcast conditions 2, sunny days 9. So I still did catch a few during the sunny days, but a lot less than the dark or first light. Sunrise 3, so that's after the sun comes over the hills, and sunset only the 1. So I fished 65% of the sessions were in the afternoon into the night, and 35% were sort of in the really early in the morning, so 2-3 a.m. into first light. And then there was a couple of days when I fished obviously during the day. But yeah, so if we look at that, complete darkness or first light, combine them together, 47 of the 66 fish. So obviously that's how I like to fish. I did put more time, I was on the water a lot more time during those periods, so those results can be a little bit swayed, but yeah, that's when I'm most confident, and I think it's the best time to be out there. Anyway guys, we'll wrap up the review there. As I said, I'm going to do these Goodoo Theories series, so I am going to get right into the nitty gritty of that database, one thing at a time in those Goodoo Theories. So that'll be your stuff like your thermocline, barometric pressure, moon phases, wind, everything like that. But yeah, I just want to do a quick review of last year, let you guys know how I went, and just a quick preview now of this season, what's coming up. So I'm keen, I can't wait. I'm not going to fish as much, I don't reckon, this season. I say that now, but you never know. I've got the bug already, I haven't even been out yet, and I've already got the bug, and I can see me going a lot during December, but I want to try and back it back and just focus on those results that I had last year and when I reckon the best times to go are, and try and put my efforts into getting out when I reckon the best time. So using that Fish Ranger app, getting on and working out. So say it's a look a week forward and find those 1 or 2 days or bite windows that I reckon are going to be the best, and really focus my efforts in getting out and being on the water on them. So not as much time on the water on the impoundments fishing. The other thing that I do want to do that I didn't do at all last year, or barely the year before either, is start getting back into the river fishing. I haven't done it for a few years, obviously, I just said, but it hasn't been very good, the rivers. They had a real big fish kill around town, and it just hasn't been what it used to be back when I was a young fella and used to froth it and do it all the time. But with the good rains that we had this spring, and the river was high flows all sort of spring, hopefully the fish have sort of come back up out of the dams. Some of the good quality fish have moved back up out of the dams, and we'll have a really good bite this year in the rivers. So I do miss it. Used to love doing overnight hikes and stuff down the river, top water sessions, that type of stuff. So I'm keen to start doing that a bit more this season. Also, it's good content. Like, you guys love seeing that type of stuff. Always good fun. Anyway, we'll jump in to my 3 combos. I'm going out tomorrow morning, first session. So this is what I got rigged up, ready to go. The first one is that bait I just showed you a minute ago that I got the 121 on. It's probably my most confident bait, especially in summer when I reckon they'll be very reaction based, so they'll respond really well to chatterblade, spinnerbait, that type of stuff. But I'll be focusing on the chatterbait, so that's the number 1. That's what I'll be throwing first and see how she goes. The second one is the Jakko Gantia rainbow trout there, upgraded trebles, 1/2 ounce chin weight. So I don't know if I mentioned this before or not, but I've got the live scope on the boat now, so I will be using the live scope a lot this season. I only had it at the back end of last season, so it's probably going to change the way I fish a bit. Hence why the 1/2 ounce, so I can get down to those when I find them on the scope. I can use that 1/2 ounce to get that lure down to it quick and bring it back past its nose. So I am going to do a separate video on my live scope and the setup that I've got with it. But so far it's been pretty good. I'm keen to see how it goes on the cod. It's definitely going to change the way I fish. I'm trying to tell myself that it won't, but I know it will, because you're always going to be looking for fish, and it's going to make casting at nothing pretty hard. So probably going to be a lot less casts this season with the live scope, but majority of the time when I'm casting, it's going to be at fish. Now this combo and the one that's got the chatterbait on it is just the Daiwa Tatula rod, 220 grammer. It's my favourite all-round rod these days for the cod, so I just run 2 of them, both with Tatula 200 HDs, 50 pound J braid. And one thing that I have gone to the back end of last year with its fishing the swim baits, and I'm going to keep running it this year, is actually fishing a mono leader. So I used to always just go J braid or braid to fluoro, but now I'm going to start running the mono leader. So I'm actually using the Daiwa J thread nylon in a 50 pound. The reason for that is that when I was getting had that real good run on the swim baits, I was only converting about 50% of bites, so not a very great conversion rate. And when you work so hard for a Murray Cod bite, you want to sink as many as possible. So I know a lot of guys, especially down south, have gone to the straight through fluoro. I'm a bit tentative to go that far at the moment. I did trial the fluoro at the back end and did have good results. The conversion rate was a lot better. I know there's bugger all difference in, say, a metre or 2 rod length of mono leader compared to fluoro, but it just gives that little bit of stretch and a bit less feel. So I'll keep going with that for the start of this season, and you know, when we do start getting right into the heart of the swim baiting, when it starts to cool off, if the conversion rates aren't high enough, I will be jumping over and giving that straight through fluoro a run. And the last combo is the new one. It's a new TD Black swim bait rod. So she's a beast of a stick. It's 7'9", can cast up to 300 grams. So it's for all your biggest swim baits you got. This is the rod. It's, you know, I've only had a few test casts with in the pool so far, but it's pretty smick looking thing. Feels really good in the hand. It's called the TD Black Mother. So I'm keen to give that a run. On that bad boy, I've just got the new Tatula 300, so I have been running them for about 6 months. I got the early prototypes. Dole sent me a couple out, and I've been testing them for them. Really happy with them. The back end of last year, got them in about April, so I fished them really hard all through the back end of autumn and winter, and they perform really well. So if you are looking for a good big reel to fish your bigger swim baits, definitely check out the 300 Tatulas. And the swim bait I've got on there is a new one. It's a new Top Attack Crucian carp. It's a big dog. I think they weigh about 200 grams. So haven't used it yet, obviously, only just come in, but I have swum in the pool a few times, and the action on these things is mint. They're a slow sinker. but I'll also put a 1/2 ounce on that just to get it down to depth quickly with the live scope, as I touched on previously. But I will do a review on this lure after I've given it a few runs out there, and let you know how it goes. But first impressions are really good. So that's where you have it, guys. Obviously with those baits, you know, the chatterbait, heavy chatterbait, and the chin weighted swim baits, I will be fishing deeper. In summer I like to go deeper. Find the fish will be sitting down around that thermocline. They will be shallow at night and in the morning, a bit shallower, but tomorrow I'm going to go out probably around first light. It's going to be more of a scoping around day. Haven't been out to Wanga in 4 months, so and it's gone from like 15% to 60 something, so it's going to be more of a day of just trying to find where the fish are, find where the bait is, find what the structure is. The fish could be anywhere, I've got no idea, so it's going to be more of a day of driving around looking for fish, more so than really being keyed in onto certain areas and trying to put a heap of fish in the boat. We might wrap it up there. I don't really have much else to say. I hope everyone has a great open season. This video is obviously going to be a bit late now, but the weekend, open season weekend, good luck to everyone heading out. Hopefully everyone can get onto them. Hopefully you guys got something out of this video. Let us know if you did. If you did enjoy it, give it a thumbs up, you know the drill. But yeah, we might wrap it up there. Once again, good luck to everyone heading out, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one, guys.